Welcome. I'm Harmony Slater, your host of the Finding Harmony podcast. Over the past 20 years, I've taught thousands of yoga teachers and students to explore the intersection between ancient wisdom and modern everyday life, using mind-body practices to heal, awaken, and manifest their dreams from the inside out. This podcast is a sanctuary for those feeling overwhelmed by life's challenges. Are you ready to jump in and discover how these challenges aren't actually in the way, but are the way to finding harmony? Let's invite the magic back in. Hi, welcome to the Finding Harmony podcast. I'm your host, Harmony, and today I have a really fun conversation for you. It originally was recorded for the Ashtanga Women's Project. This is a groundbreaking initiative created by authorized teacher Carmen Yagüe, and it first aired on her YouTube channel last year. We're sharing a powerful discussion that is exploring about how women can embrace their feminine essence within the Ashtanga yoga practice and culture and tradition. Carmen's vision is for the Ashtanga Women's Project to create a space where practitioners can discover their unique expression of strength as women, while holding both to the traditional practice, but also that deeply feminine wisdom that exists within each of us. In our discussion, we dive into how women can support each other on this transformative journey and explore ways to cultivate more personal power in your practice and find deeper purpose and reconnect to the joy of your practice and loving your body and loving your expression of self in this life. So whether you're new to Ashtanga, if you've practiced before or have never practiced before, or maybe you're a seasoned practitioner, this conversation, I hope, will offer you some really valuable insights into how to approach your practice with more strength and grace and ease, and bring back a slightly more feminine approach, a feminine energy into this beautiful spiritual practice that you're doing every day. So I'm really excited to share this conversation with you. It was one of my favorite podcast interviews that I was a guest on last year, which is why I wanted to share it with all of you in case you missed it. And I think you'll realize why being in community, healing in community, and having a community of supportive friends that are women is so vital. Whether you're practicing Ashtanga yoga, whether you're building a business, whether you're just in a healing community, it's so, so important to surround yourself with other women that are uplifting you, that are encouraging you, that are positive, that are strengthening you on every level of being. So if you would like to work with me, then I would encourage you to explore some of the options either through B-School, which is open now, or in my Lightworker Mastermind if you're interested in building a business as a spiritual entrepreneur, or if you just want to practice some yoga and dive deep into the philosophical concepts and also learn pranayama and chanting, you can come on into my inner circle. I'm really happy to support you in whatever way feels right for you. And we have a beautiful community inside our Finding Harmony community, and it's free and open to all of you as our listeners. So find all these links in the show notes, and let's just jump into this wonderful conversation about women in Ashtanga yoga.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Today, I am with Harmony Slater. It's third time actually we speak Harmony.
Yes, it is.
Yes. This time we're speaking about Ashtanga Woman, which is this new project that I've been working on. It's like my baby. It's a new vision to enrich and enhance the experience for Ashtanga yoga practice for women. You really don't need much introduction, but still. So Harmony has been teaching Ashtanga yoga for over 20 years. It's a long time, yeah. It's a long time. You were introduced to yoga in 1995 and began practicing Ashtanga yoga in 2000.
Yeah.
Started going to Mysore in 2004 and then eventually got the certification to teach in 2015.
Yeah.
I remember I was in Mysore the time when you were certified.
Nice.
A
lot of people say that. I feel like that was a busy year for some reason.
Yeah. Everyone was there. Yeah.
It felt really positive to have, 11 years of visiting Mysore culminate in the certification. So that felt really, it was special for me.
Like a sense of accomplishment, I guess.
Yeah. Also because I gave birth to my son in 2011.
Okay.
And so most of my third series practice happened after I gave birth to my son. So it was a big accomplishment. A lot of women say, I don't want to have children until I finish this or finish that. And it felt really, validating.
That's a big thing. I would like us to touch on that. So I'll make a mental note.
Yeah.
Because that's a big one, big thing. Yeah. Just like how do you handle your career and family life? It's also how do you handle your as an apprentice? Sometimes your family life.
Not easy at all.
And then from Asana, but you took them from a dance background. You trained as a ballerina for 15 years.
That's true.
And you grew up with an alcoholic father. That's something I didn't know.
Yeah.
And perfectionism has always been a big thing for you.
I think especially when I was younger, maybe less so now.
That's good news.
Yeah.
That's good news, definitely. And you eventually, after dealing with anorexia and bulimia for 1 decade, you started to turn to these practices, which were like vipassana, meditation, and yoga mainly.
Yeah.
You've had quite a journey, Harmony.
Yes.
Setting up to yoga schools in Canada.
That's true. Yes. Yeah. And now
teaching internationally.
Yeah. Mostly traveling and teaching, but also creating my online yoga membership and business to support yoga teachers and deepen, their connection to themselves and support them in their business. And last 5 years has really been about developing my skills as a coach and learning a whole new way of kind of interacting with people in the world to help them discover their own unique gifts and qualities and strengths. So that's been really exciting and feels like the next layer and the next chapter of where I'm going. So, yeah.
I've been seeing you for the last few years, especially when it struck me was especially during COVID. That's at least when I took notice of it. I've seen you from this very traditional background, finding your own voice and start doing your own thing.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a bold move. You need courage to do that because it's so easy to get caught up in the way things are supposed to be, the type of person that you are supposed to become. Sometimes it's just like when you graduate from college and you're supposed to get a job in an office, maybe it depends on your degrees, get a job and build up a career. And your career has a very clear roadmap that you pursue. And then after A comes B and after B comes C. And then you get entangled in this life path. And many times you don't even choose. It's already being given to you. In the yoga world, and let's say the Ashtanga yoga world, it happens very similarly. You go to Mysore, get authorization, there's some stroke in the shower, and you start doing something else. And what happened to me at least is that sometimes you wake up and say, I'm not really even the type of life I was inspired to be when I started doing this yoga.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
What was it that inspired you to do the yoga? What was it that you initially had been like brought that drew you to it, that you kind of had this dream that you wanted to do? What was that for you?
Actually, I had this connection with yoga. I always had it. I was always drawn to it. So nothing specific happened. It was always in me. I never acted on it up until I started working in sales. I worked in international software sales for years in Dublin, Ireland, then in Madrid, Spain. The job in Madrid, I hated so much. I still like it. And then I moved to London in the UK, and I was like having a career in sales, which was like a lot of pressure as well. So that is when I gathered the motivation to really try something that would help me unite my body a little more. I was very much into physical activity. I was one of those people that just went for a run with like music, like all night, kind of trying to dissociate. And I felt very disconnected. So I started to look for something that would give me that rush, physical rush, that for me it was, and it still is important. And that will help me come back to my center, if you like, connect with myself a little better.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what brought me.
Yeah. And then what feels like maybe you're needing to recalibrate, this idea of that there's sort of this path. So you came to the yoga because it was helping you kind of connect to yourself, it sounds like, but then something along the way of becoming a teacher and teaching and building a yoga school.
Mm-hmm.
And so where do you feel like the disconnection is now?
Well, I think as I mentioned before, it's very easy to get, it's very easy to live based on what you're supposed to do. Like when you follow like a path that's been already walked by many people, that's very easy to do, but it's not necessarily the best course of action for everyone at every time. So eventually, if there is something I appreciate from all the awareness and all the strength as well, which we will talk about it, that has come from this yoga practice, that this yoga practice have given me or helped me realize and develop. It is this self-reassurance, if you like, this trust to listen to myself. I believe, Harmony, that women, I don't know about men, but women, we have the same intuition and we listen to it and we practice it. Like connecting with our intuition, it's like our soul's whisper, I think. And it can be very accurate, but we need to practice it and we have to go through some trial and errors as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to me, it was very much about that. I mean, I think there is a quote by Steve Jobs. So I do not remember what he said precisely, but the overall significance is that if you find yourself lacking motivation for too many days in a row, it's time to change. It's time to do something. You just don't keep dragging your feet. I don't care if it's like an office or a yoga shala, or you just don't keep dragging your feet. You do something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a funny balance, isn't it? Because you have to put in enough time to really give something the energy it needs and deserves to grow, and put in enough repetition to cultivate that knowingness in your cells or in your body or in your career, where it becomes intuitive in a sense or second nature, but also keep that aliveness of what called you there in the first place. And I think sometimes that's what we lose in the repetitiveness, the routine, is we lose the aliveness, whether it's the practice or the business or the career. And that's kind of the secret to keeping things fresh, I guess, is not getting so stuck or fixed in one way that you become unwilling to experiment or try something new, especially if the one way isn't working for you.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm going to ask you the same question you asked me. What made you decide, like, okay, it's time to grow?
I think for me, a lot of things happened around that time. A lot of stuff with Patabi Joyce was really coming to the surface and making a lot of teachers who practiced with him question our assumptions, question our actions, question our beliefs, question the practice, question our behaviors, question other people's beliefs and behaviors. And that kind of also, there were some other things that happened around then. Sharat took a bunch of senior teachers off of the list of teachers. There was like a whole bunch of different little things going on, and a little bit more of a codification of the system in a way, or, teachers kind of taking sides or lines or, different things going on in the community itself that for me was really highlighting aspects of I'm just going to say maybe the tradition, the community, and our attachment to the practice, and our attachment to hierarchy, and our attachment to the correct way of doing something. It really made me kind of question, like, what is it all for? And what is the correct way? And what do these assumptions lead to? If you believe that this way is better than other ways, then you're creating an us versus them paradigm, which to me is the antithesis of yoga. And so if your practice is separating you from other people or making you look down on other people, even other people that don't practice, then instead of the practice being something that's aligning with you or aligning your spirit or lifting or elevating you spiritually, it's becoming something that is very much attached to your ego and elevating your ego. And so for me, it was just a really deep time of questioning, is this practice even a spiritual practice, or is it just an ego practice? And, what is it reinforcing? What kind of patterns is it reinforcing? Because yoga is really about untangling us from our attachments to all things, right? And seeing that it's an illusion, seeing that who we think we are is an illusion, seeing that our attachment to the practice is an illusion, seeing that, seeing reality as it is. And it just felt like instead of helping us find freedom from some of these patterns that are of our personality, it was kind of reinforcing these patterns, whether it's competitiveness or perfection or attachment to being admired or praised or success or validation, or I don't know, it can be all kinds of things, right? And so it made me really kind of start to question, what's the mechanism behind what's happening here, and why is the practice really working in a way, right? And if it isn't working, why isn't it working? And is it the problem of the practice, or is it the problem of the practitioner? Is it the problem of the teacher? Is it like, where's the disconnect, And so that made me kind of go on a very deep journey of self-discovery and ask some really difficult questions, and also allow myself to really let go of the practice entirely so that I could figure out where my emotional blocks were with it. And I could just be with those things. I could be with the sadness. It's hard to really grieve the loss of a teacher. It's hard to grieve the loss of a community. It's hard to grieve the loss even of your own physical practice if you're still trying to maintain it. Like you have to actually kind of just let it go in order to really be with the sadness of losing something, of something changing, of something, dissolving before your eyes in a sense, right? And to face the fear and ask those questions. Who am I? Who am I if I don't practice? Do I still have value? Who am I if I don't, consider myself an Ashtangi? Am I still worth it? Do I have something interesting to say? Can I still help people? All of these interesting kinds of questions. They're very deep and they go very deep if you're willing to sit with the fear of finding out the answer. And the beautiful thing in my own journey over the last, 4 or 5 years, I guess it kind of started a little bit before that actually, because it actually started when Jeff and I split up and then we were getting divorced. And it was quite a moment where I had to question, do I stay in a relationship because I'm afraid of what a community of practitioners, a community will say about me and how they'll judge me?
Yeah.
Or do I listen to my truth and follow my own instinct in my heart, even though it's going to disappoint a lot of people? And I had to come to a place in myself where I was very resolved in that even if I lose my career as an Ashtanga yoga teacher, even if I lose all of my students, even if I have to go get a job at Starbucks or wherever, it's more important for me to listen to this truth that's inside of me, to follow my instincts, to be authentic to who I am and to what I know to be true for me. And so I would say that really started like back in 2016. And then it was, kind of a process unfolding with all these other events that started to happen around the time of COVID. And it was kind of beautiful too, because it's allowed me to also kind of come back to the practice with fresh eyes and as a beginner almost, even though obviously there's a lot of cellular memory and muscle memory and, freshness in something that my body's very accustomed to and used to. But it's allowing me to be with all of these sort of new sensations and see the mind in its judgments or in its criticisms around yourself or your body or your, practice that you think sometimes, at least for me, when you're doing an advanced practice and, you can do all of these amazing, incredible things through asana with your body, you think, oh, I don't have any body shame. I don't have any criticism of myself. You think you're healed. You think you're over it. But actually, it's just like kind of a cover up. And it's putting this Band-Aid on the wound that is still there and completely unhealed. And so it's been really beautiful to kind of be able to come into the practice again and see, oh, this is here, and actually heal it from the root rather than try to achieve my way out of it, in a sense,
Achieve my way.
So that's been kind of, I guess, the journey that I've been on.
I remember the last time we spoke, I still had the yoga school imagery. I don't know if you know, I closed December 2023. I decided to close because I felt I was not, I could give you different reasons, but reasons that are irrelevant. Main thing, I was not invested anymore. In the sense that I love the system of yoga, I love Ashtanga yoga, I love the practice, I love teaching.
Yeah.
I love all of that. Not necessarily within the limits of the yoga shala, traditional Ashtanga yoga shala in my hometown, Madrid State, which was kind of what I had been working on for 7 years. So when you're working on something, the relatively decent period of time, be it a relationship, in business, life tasks, practice, when you've been working on something, have been invested into it, the instinct, it's always to keep it up.
Yeah.
Even if it will drag you down. Then at some point, so I was telling you, you awakening to this inner voice of yours, it becomes really loud. So that's the point of yoga. And all this yoga, it's not about anything else but just like be clear inside to see what's really coming and be with it and try to follow as much as you can. It's just not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. That deep listening to yourself. I think it's really, really important on every level.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we have this tendency of holding on to things, whether they work or not. And when I started Ashtanga woman, just like I mentioned, is my baby. I started it for different reasons. Having taught at a yoga space, like stable, steady group of people for years, you get a lot of information of the things that worked, of the things that don't work that well. You find yourself sometimes trying to defend things that you really cannot defend. I mean, like, really, I'm really saying this. So sometimes you find yourself in these situations that, again, if you try to be authentic, you need to start inquiring. It's inevitable that you will start inquiring and start becoming more reasonable. You're more open to the person in front of you, and make it more about this connection, exchange, teacher-student, than just about some tradition, which is not that old anyway.
Yeah, no.
That old anyway. So like that helps you forward if you listen and you're open to it, you start taking in all these things and you start opening your eyes to different realities, I would say. And so that was something that started to inspire the Ashtanga woman for me, even if I was not aware back then. The biggest thing for me, it's about power. It's about strength, the sense of like, this boldness, if you like. And there is something harmony that I find incredibly curious. There are so many women practicing Ashtanga yoga, so many female teachers practicing Ashtanga yoga, and still most of the instruction and most of the framework remains male. And sometimes women, we don't give ourselves the agency to say, this might not be working great for me. But still, for some reason, many times we get entangled and we keep beating ourselves up. You do the same, like the discipline. And the discipline becomes a little bit of a torture sometimes. And it's not only what's happening in the physical, it's also how sometimes we talk ourselves out. If there is something that's coming up, and we're talking about this idea of intuition being sharp, if you listen to it, there is something coming up consistently. There is something that you feel off, but at least pay attention to it. At least pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And for me, this was a big thing behind Ashtanga woman, big thing. How can there be so many female practitioners, so many female teachers, and still we don't give ourselves the credit to say, I need to do some things differently.
Yeah, it's curious. I mean, that the structure of the Ashtanga yoga system and method, like the methodology is very geared to masculinity and to the male perspective. Even the pattern of getting up and exercising first thing in the morning, getting up at the same time every morning, never, only taking one day off a week and moon days off. I mean, always doing the same thing, as well as I mean, it's just not possible. I'm sorry. If you're a woman and you have children and you don't have a permanent live-in nanny and or a spouse who's going to look after the kids while you go and do your practice, your yoga practice. It's not going to happen that way. I mean, it's going to be very difficult. You're going to face a lot of challenges that will probably ultimately leave you feeling frustrated and disempowered and unhappy about something that you should be absolutely celebrating and thrilled with, having children. If that's your choice, it should be something that's a part of your practice, that's seen as a part of your practice, not seen as something that's taking you away from your practice or distracting you from your practice, because, it's not. It's yoga, actually. That is the practice. That is the yoga, is showing up for your child and like being present in those moments and not trying to fight against reality as it is and not trying to change things. Right. And so this, I guess, adherence to form and this insistence on the form being maintained and the regularity and the consistency in a certain way, in a very particular way, actually, is a very masculine approach to life, I think.
Yeah.
Even that, okay, so it takes in consideration of the cycles. So women, are advised to take 3 days of rest during menstruation. But again, it's very blanketed. Like all women need to do this. Women are unique human beings. Not all women experience the exact same menstrual cycle. Not all women experience the exact same hormonal fluctuations or whatever, right? And so it becomes very kind of like just putting women in this box, like, well, you're men, but like smaller, lesser, different, but not like unique. And so, it's interesting. I think these sort of very structured kind of obsessive compulsive patterns, I think they tend to be more easily adopted by men because their hormone cycle is a 24-hour cycle. It happens pretty consistently the same way every single day, with minor fluctuations potentially, but it's pretty consistent. Men also typically are not the main caregivers for an infant. They don't give birth. They don't, make food for a child. They don't have like 3 complex hormones fluctuating at different levels every single day. So there's something about a feminine approach or being a woman in Ashtanga yoga that does require, I think, some deeper listening and more flexibility to your practice, more sensitivity to the present moment and to yourself in your practice. And that, listening to your intuition and following it. And sometimes I think the practice, instead of connecting us more deeply to that intuition or to our bodies, to what we truly need in a physical embodied way, sometimes it can disconnect us from it because we're trying to enforce the structure onto ourselves. And so in that way, we stop listening in order to do the structure or do the practice, the way that we have in our mind we're supposed to do it.
Yes. No, and also the way that we are encouraged to do. Many times the system, I think it's fantastic in the way, in the sense that it creates this container. It gives you structure, a very masculine notion, structure, the rigor, the discipline to start establishing a connection with your body, with your mind, with even your emotions in ways that I remember when I started Ashtanga yoga, this way of connecting with myself was foreign to me. I had never seen it before. I had never experienced it before. And so it was like coming back home to myself. It's a great feeling. Years roll by you awaken to this inner intelligence. That's a byproduct of all this yoga asana, at least awakening to something deeper. And your practice becomes longer and longer and longer. And then it shortens, and then longer, longer, and longer again. And then it shortens. Every time it shortens, it becomes twice as intense. Very much. It looks like you don't have a say in how things are progressing. Maybe you are blessed with a reasonable teacher, reasonable community that encourage you to be yourself, even if you're practicing Ashtanga yoga. They listen and they try to find a way to make this practice available to you. I'm not even talking about modifications. I'm talking about making the Ashtanga yoga practice fit into your life, fit into the ups and downs, fit into your daily routines and obligations that I'm sure are many. So fit into it. Sometimes you're not blessed with that.
Mm-hmm.
Very oftentimes you're not blessed with that receptivity to your needs as a human being. That's why drama happens. There can be a lot of drama happening just for no reason.
You know, I've thought a lot about this, the dynamics that go on, and sometimes it's not necessarily anybody's fault. I think the teachers are trying to maintain a structure. They're trying to teach people properly the method that they believe in, that has worked for them, that they were taught, the way they were taught. And I think students also find safety in that. We do find safety in there being clear rights and wrongs and clear correct and incorrect and clear rules to how we're supposed to do things and what we're supposed to do and not do. And so I think there's a general kind of attraction that happens with many students and many teachers in sort of co-creating this, recreating this very formal structure of this is the correct way, this isn't the correct way, and this is right and this is wrong. And somewhere in there, we lose that connection to ourselves a little bit. And I don't know that it's anyone's fault. I don't even think it's the system's fault in a way. But it does help, as you say, if your teacher is mature enough in their understanding of the practice to be able to take the form and the structure of the practice, because there's nothing sacred or special, in a sense, about this particular sequence of asanas. It just is a sequence of asanas. And it helps to have a structure to learn, right? But to also have a teacher that's mature enough and feels also confident in themselves and confident in their students to allow the student to learn the form, learn the structure, but as you say, also inquire how it fits with them. And also inquire as to what they need on any given day and allow for it to be flexible that way. Because some days maybe you just need some sun salutations and a twist like Marichyasana C and legs up the wall. Maybe some days you need some standing postures and you can't put any pressure on your wrist or your shoulder, and some of the back bends from second series like Shalabhasana or Dhanurasana, and then close it. Right? And so it's not to say that it's going to change every single day, obviously, but to be in dialogue and in relationship with the student and the teacher, I think is really, really important. And this, I think, is a more feminine approach to the practice, where the student feels like they have some say and some control in what they're doing with their body and how their body is being treated or attended to within the practice itself. That seems very essential and important, that we're not disempowering students. We're not taking away their autonomy, but we're giving them the power and the autonomy and the tools to really listen and understand themselves, and also the freedom to choose. I think those are really essential principles, and they're yogic principles as well. And sometimes we sacrifice those in our attempts to create uniformity and structure. And I think there needs to be a balance,
Yeah. It helps you open your mind to the possibility that there might be more than one correct method. So many times when you talk about this correct method, it's not so much about the form. It might then also something to do with the intention that you bring forth. It's not just that it just stand and achieving and the enforcing rules, but where are you coming from? And there's also this idea of creativity. Like that life force moving through you. If every time that life force wants to move through you, which is the whole point of yoga, if you kill it, because it's incorrect. I'm not encouraging people to go crazy now and do like crazy stuff unless they want to do it, but just opening our minds to the fact that many teachers, many practitioners do these things behind closed doors, but for some reason we never have the courage to say, I do some experimentation now and again.
Yeah. And what has that experimentation brought to your practice?
Both freshness, aliveness, and a sense of power. I have to say, I am committed to this practice. I am committed to this system. I don't criticize the establishment. In fact, I continue going to the establishment every time I can. So I think it's also an important part of my journey. And at the same time, I know I need to do this.
Yes.
So when I go to someone's class, someone's program, or I practice how that person likes, because it's respectful. And I think that makes sense. And then when I'm on my own, I do my practice. It's very traditional. And sometimes I play around a little.
Yeah, I think there's something nice about tapping into that creativity and allowing yourself to play. I tell practitioners this quite often. If it's not fun, if it's not enjoyable, if it's not playful, you won't practice for a long time. Because we grow and we change when we enjoy what we're doing, when we feel like good in what we're doing. We're dreading it if we're feeling like it's a burden, if it's just another thing to do and check off the list.
Yes.
We're not going to do it because there's not that connection to it. We're not feeling like, oh, this is fun. Like if something's fun, we want to do it. Right?
Yeah.
And so I think our practices need to have this element of play, of fun, and I think that's why a lot of us, loved the practice to begin with, is because it connected us back to almost like a childhood experience where you're just moving and breathing and doing fun things. I think that's also why people love handstands, because they feel like it's playful and it connects them to kind of being a child, And I think we need to bring that element into our practice, and then to also connect to really why we're doing it. If you're just going through the asanas because you feel like you should, or because you're like, well, I practice Ashtanga yoga and we have to do it every day. I mean, why?
For me, the main reason is just because. Why did I do this? Just because. Because I feel better when I do it than when I'm not. But now I'm just feeling better, and it's just because I need to feel invested.
Exactly.
I need to feel invested.
Yeah.
It comes back to this idea of power. Again, this like empowerment. It's not about just doing crazy things. It's not about becoming a rebel with no cause.
No.
You can be a little bit of a rebel with a cause.
Yeah.
Rebel with a cause. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
It's really important to really feel connected to why you're doing the practice. And also maybe ask yourself too, what am I afraid will happen if I don't practice? Because there's some juice in that, there's some real wisdom in facing that fear so that you're not just being motivated by fear. I'm afraid I'll lose everything I gained. Well, what have you gained? What are we talking about? Like, yeah, are we talking about hamstring length? Are we talking about like, what are we talking about? And so like looking at that underlying motivation, are you running away from something or are you running to something, right? Is it ultimately towards your freedom and your liberation and your enlightenment and your awakening? Or are you running away from, not feeling good enough or running away from a past that you don't want to re-encounter? Yeah, they're good questions to bring into your mind and heart while you're practicing.
Many times, actually, when we were talking about this co-creation, it's this idea of togetherness. We come together for different reasons. Sometimes we are together in trauma. We come together in healing. There are too many yoga communities that come together in trauma. And that militancy and extreme rigidity, it's a way to cope.
Totally.
It's a way to cope. It's a hard pill to swallow, but that's what I've experienced at least. So this idea, not even yoga therapy anymore, I would say yoga healing, just evolving into this space of healing and this co-creation, taking responsibility and accountability. It is not about doing your asana and things will sort themselves out. Asana is very helpful, but it goes beyond that. You sort things out yourself.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's kind of the misconception that many of us come to the practice with is we think, well, if we just do this asana, it'll be okay and everything will be okay. And it's not a replacement for like proper inquiry or therapy or like doing some of the deeper work to actually, bring healing, to bring compassionate self-forgiveness, to be with those wounded parts of yourself. It doesn't fix it, and I think sometimes we think, oh, if I just practice, it'll fix me. But it's not actually the fix. And part of it is recognizing there was nothing to fix and you're not actually broken.
It's a big one.
Yeah, that's some deep, deep work.
Carmen, how do you think women, as there are so many practitioners, so many teachers in Ashtanga yoga, and still sometimes we're a little disconnected from each other. I think we indulge in behaviors that might be more about competing or seeing each other as friends instead of wholeheartedly celebrating each other. I think there is some work for us to do. How do you think we as women could come better together, become a little more supportive and a bit more open to each other and a little more encouraging?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a teacher, as a woman teacher, I think you really have to do your own work around your own insecurities, your own ideas about women in the world and your own biases, that you might have, because the energy that you bring into a class is the energy that you hold the students with. And it's the energy that they unconsciously are going to also transmit and pick up on. And so for me, I think one of the most valuable things women can do is recognize that we are often our own worst enemy in the world with each other. And that I've consciously made it so much a part of my mission and my work here on the planet to really uplift other women and recognize that it's not about, if someone else is receiving accolades or some kind of achievement or whatever it is, if they're growing and gaining, it's uplifting us all. It's bringing us all, that there doesn't need to be this competition, and that this is a very old way of thinking and being. Yes. And that women really need to support each other. Like women need to support women because, we're so strong together. We're so strong when we really can be and see and uplift each other. And it's so healing. It's such a healing experience. And I think most of us probably didn't grow up in those kinds of environments.
Yeah.
We grew up in environments that were very competitive, that were catty, that were backstabbing. And so we all have a lot of wounding around other women.
Yes.
And so it's really important to do your own work and your own healing around being in relationship and community with other women, looking at, am I supporting other women or am I supporting men? Because there's an unconscious bias in there. We are totally unconsciously bought into a system for hundreds of years that says women come after men. And so many of us still pedestal the men and the women come after.
Aiden's right.
So, yeah, we're just
Aiden's
looking
right.
up there like, well, what does the man say? You know? And I think really owning your experience as a woman in the world and seeing that it is valid, that it is different, that other women, you have more in common with other women than you do with men. and that as we all grow in our strength and in our wisdom and in our unity, I mean, it's an unstoppable force in the world. It's beautiful because also women who support women also bring them up. And then more women have power and more women have money. And it's been proven over and over and over again. When women have money, you know what they do? They support. They support other, they support their family. Well, they walk away, yes. But they also support their children. Yes. Right? They take care of their children. They support their children. They support education. They support healthcare. They bring up other women. They support other women. They support causes. They donate to charities. Like money gets used in a totally different way because we're collectively community minded. And we need that kind of leadership. Like that is the leadership we need in the world. And so we're not going to get there if we're competing against each other and tearing each other down. And so really like just owning and healing and doing that deeper work with our own little wounds around other women and our feelings of insecurity or inferiority or whatever it is, or like the need to show up or be powerful or, whatever the things are. And just really letting every woman shine and trying to foster an environment where women feel safe to be themselves and express and, open up. And it's such a beautiful thing. I see it in my retreats and my workshops. Like it's so wonderful when women feel empowered and when they're given the power, they're always surprised. They'll say, well, what should I do? And I'm like, what do you think you should do? They're like, yeah, what?
What do you want to do?
I get a choice? It's like, yeah, actually I do. Like, it's beautiful empowering women. It's so worth it. It's so exciting. It's so good for our communities to empower and encourage each other. And I think that's what we need more of as women practitioners and women teachers is just like really empowering, celebrating, sharing, uplifting each other, supporting each other. And, then it's going to be things will change because we do things differently.
Completely. It's like just touching on this real quick. I think the history of women like being submitted to men, which has been a reality for centuries. And so all of this are carried this want. I see it, for example, what you mentioned is spot on. The yoga community around the male, they're always like, it's always in a pedestal. And it's women doing that.
Yeah.
As a woman does not do that with a female teacher usually.
Yeah. And also female teachers often don't encourage it either. When someone puts them on the pedestal, they give them back the power and say, right? And so it's there's a different dynamic happening.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
They're not like, oh yeah, I'm the one in charge. So I'm going to, tell you what to do.
Absolutely. That's actually something that when I observe that it's encouraged me to create this Ashtanga Woman, to start working, like taking this Ashtanga Woman project more serious. Because it was like, okay, we have some soul searching here to do and some development.
Yeah, and I think also as like teachers, we're less inclined to say my way is the right way. You have to do it my way. I think women teachers are a little bit more open and a little bit more like, let's find the right way for you. What's your right way? And using our tools, as you say, for the person in front of us. And I think we're also a lot less likely to shut things out and cut things off.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, well, I see this even like with the Ashtanga practice. So, when I said, I had to stop doing the practice to really grieve and let it go. But it wasn't like, for me, my experience wasn't like the practice made me feel more competitive, or it made me obsessed with achievement and success, or it made me, like, it wasn't the practice's problem. It wasn't something inherent in the practice or inherent in the community or inherent in the teacher. Those things were all inside of me already. And all of those factors were just bringing the pattern that was already there up to the surface.
Yes.
And so now I have a choice. I can see it and I can work with it and I can heal it and be with it and like start to understand, oh, this is the wound or this is the pattern. But it's not that I need to close and shut myself off from the practice or the community or the teacher. You can say, I'm creative and I explore on my own. And when I'm in a teacher's class, I do the practice the way the teacher wants. And I still want to go to Mysore and be with Sharat and do this very traditional practice. But I'm also open to these other ways. And it doesn't have to be like an all or nothing type situation. And I think that's very feminist. That's very woman, perspective. Because in a masculine world, it tends to be like the all or nothing, the us and them, that you either do it this way or forget about it. And it's changing. Like the world is changing because that is not the future.
Absolutely.
The future is the inclusivity. The future is seeing that things don't have to be, you don't have to cut off your limb. You can say, oh, I can do this and I can still love it. And I can do it sometimes in this way and I can do it sometimes in this other way. And it's still doing the thing that I want to do, which is maybe connecting with my body or connecting with my breath or just having a sacred space for myself in my life or whatever your big why is, whatever your reason is for practicing,
Absolutely. Well, Carmen, now the time came to leave this yoga space because there's a class starting and the yogis waiting.
Yes.
They are angry. So I appreciate your time. I love this topic.
Thank you so much for inviting me on today. It was such a beautiful conversation and wonderful to spend time with you.
Thank you so much, Harmony.
Thank you, Carmen.
Everyone for watching. And we will link all Harmony's programs and also Ashtanga Woman programs in the description box. So you can keep tabs on the things that we're up to.
Wait, before we go, I want to share something deeply personal with you. You know those moments when you look back and you can just pinpoint exactly when everything changed? Well, I had a moment like that about 5 years ago when I signed up to join Marie Forleo inside her B-School program. It wasn't just another online program. It was the turning point that transformed my entire approach to business. And here's why I'm telling you this now. B-School is open. The doors are open now, and they're only open until February 28th. So if you are feeling with a call in your heart that this could be the year that you optimize your business, grow your business, and really commit to yourself and your dream, then I would encourage you to sign up this year. This program covers everything from finding your ideal clients, creating irresistible offers, building your business online, marketing with authenticity and authority. But what makes it truly special is the community of practitioners. And as a B-School affiliate, I am offering a bonus experience. So you get to come inside B-School and join my community of spiritual entrepreneurs inside my Lightworker Mastermind and my Inner Circle mentorship. I get to guide you for 3 months, and you also get 3 one-on-one business building coaching meetings with me. So you're going to get support for yourself one-on-one and in a group setting. So if you've been waiting for a sign that it's time to take your business to that next level, this is it. Find the link in the show notes and be sure you sign up before February 28th because doors close on that Friday. Remember, the business of your dreams isn't going to build itself. B-School gave me the foundation and the tools and the confidence to create mine, and now it's your turn. That's it. We've concluded another episode of the Finding Harmony podcast. I just want to thank you so much for doing the work that changes the world, starting with yourself. It truly does make a huge difference. Please make sure you have your automatic downloads turned on wherever you listen so you don't miss any of the upcoming episodes. I have so much more magic I can't wait to share with you. Lastly, if you're on Instagram, I love connecting and hearing from you. So come on over and say hello at Finding Harmony Podcast. And you can also come say hello to me personally at Harmony Slater Official. Thank you again for being here. I cannot wait to share more with you in our next episode.